What's up? Quick.
No, never mind. Hey guys, and welcome to the wrap up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic Live post-game show where we recap, dissect, and have some fun talking about the Raptors game. The Raptors have finally won, guys. The losing streak is over. We are excited, but it is on brand for the Raptors to, of course, win and break their losing streak right before a trade deadline. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, and tonight, as always, we got my co-host here with me, Oren Weisfeld. Oren, tonight the Raptors won 135-111. Was the Denver Nuggets tonight, moving Toronto to 18-26. What do you think? I'm happy. I think they finally. I think they made my week. I was about to say that my Wednesday night. I think they made my week. I can confidently say that.
Same, man. It was pretty emotional. It was pretty emotional watching that. Yeah. Honestly, more than I was expecting. It was just everything went right, for the Raptors today. We've seen a lot of games where everything went wrong, and today was just a good example of every single guy, bringing the energy. Execution was amazing. The vibes were great, and it felt like there was a little bit of that, and we know this is the last time. This is potentially the last time we'll play together. So we don't want to go out like we did with that back-to-back last weekend that was just horrendous. They wanted to go out, with some pride, and they did. Yeah, I think sure. If this is the last game with that group, I'll remember it very fondly.
Yeah, if it is, hey, we lose Lowry tomorrow or Norm or both. This is a good memory to kind of hold near and dear to our heart. Denver is one of the best teams, Oren, in the West. Their record is now 26-18. They came in as the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Completely flipped record from Toronto, who is now 18-26. They have a very good roster. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. They made the Western Conference Finals last year. I don't want to call it a Cinderella run because their roster was extremely talented. They had Jeremy Grant, who's essentially looking like the most improved player this year. But they came into this season looking to be one of those top teams in the West. They are one of those top teams in the West, and Toronto beat a very, very good team tonight. One weird thing that I realized with Nick Nurse is I felt like he kept the starters in for a little too late in that game. I feel like he was a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but maybe worried with just throwing the entire bench unit in there with Matt Thomas and them. And I think the first 6 or 7 shots were all bricks. But some good news, they still closed it out. Matt Thomas got a little hot from the outside. I don't know. This is kind of bittersweet, Oren, because as much as I want to talk about the game and the Raptors breaking their losing streak, tomorrow's a big day.
For sure. Let's talk about the game a bit, though.
Talk about the game, though. Let's talk about the game.
I think there was some fun. There was some good things we got to touch on. We should talk about the broadcast, but real quick, I'll hit on a couple of stats from the game. Yeah. Cool ones, I think. So Kyle Lowry finished plus 42 tonight, which is a career high for him. Very, very poetic for his, potentially 42. Last game, plus 42. And the Raptors hit 23 threes in a game. So that's the franchise record for threes, too.
No way.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
They actually finished with 24, believe it or not. 24 for 48, exactly 58%, or 50%, 58%. Can't do math. 50%.
Nice. Oh, yeah. That was probably before the bench got put in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of nice to see everyone had it, especially the core three. I'll call the core three, Fred, OG, and Pascal. They were all super on it tonight, hitting everything outside and inside. It was kind of weird to see them shooting so well because like that they have it in them, but they just haven't done it that well this season. But yeah, like before we get into the details of the game and show you guys some clips, what did you think about the all women's broadcast? Because I really enjoyed it.
It was incredible. Honestly, Oren, it was incredible. The analysis we got from the women was a change. I feel like when we had the men in there, and don't get me wrong, Jack Armstrong, Leo and all those guys, they all do their thing. Matt Devlin, they're great in their own right. But the women, I mean, naturally, when you already have a very good broadcast team and you're bringing in a totally different one, I mean, people aren't going to have the highest expectations. It doesn't matter who it is, right? But the women completely like blew expectations to the point where me personally, like I wouldn't mind an all-women broadcast for the rest of the season. Just make this a permanent thing at this point. Like that's how good I thought they were tonight. Again, like I said, it was a change. I feel like with the men, you saw a lot more like entertainment. And with the women, I feel like I was actually learning. Like they were dissecting each and every play out there, but also entertaining at the exact same time. They had very good chemistry, which is pretty surprising because I don't know if they've all done a broadcast together at the same time with that same group. So it was great. It was great. I mean, if I could give it out of 10, I'd give it a 12 out of 10, honestly. Like that's how good it was. I enjoyed it. And I couldn't turn the TV off, honestly.
Yeah, like I feel the same way in that usually with Raptors broadcasts, I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'll leave the volume on because, like I guess if I have the stream on, it's like whatever. I'm never really excited for it. It's often I want to watch other broadcasts to kind of compare and contrast. And like this whole season, people have been complaining about broadcasts in general because some things have been said. And I just think people have realized a lot of like the local and national broadcasts just don't do a very good job like analyzing the X's and O's of the game. They treat fans like they're pretty stupid and they, I think the Raptors broadcasts are definitely guilty of that. And like you said, especially when Jack and Matt are together, they are entertaining. Yeah. They're a really entertaining tandem. But the analysis today was super refreshing. Like people, I'm not even saying this just to say it. Like people will go on Twitter and say like just to get like some good clout. People will be like, yeah I love the women's broadcast. Like, nah, I'm really not saying it to get anything. I just like enjoyed the analysis. They're talking about face cuts. They're talking about like the second dribble in the post. They're talking about defensive rotations. Like you teach people this lingo and it goes a long way in terms of having people understand the game at a higher level and bringing conversation up to a higher level. So regardless of the gender, that's what you want to see. And it's really nice that it was a really refreshing broadcast. More of that, please.
Yeah, please, more of that. Looking from Denver's side, Nikola Jokic had a pretty good game tonight. And I would say kind of limited minutes. Like he probably would have been in the mid to high 30s if he played throughout the entire game. He had 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, that's like typical Nikola with maybe like 5 extra assists added to that. Shot a really good percentage. Jamal shot a really good percentage. Michael Porter, who did have a pretty good scoring output in this game, Oren, I made an interesting tweet where, like, when you really watch Michael Porter play defense, I'm trying my best to, like, hold – Michael Porter, honestly, playing defense is one of the most frustrating things to watch. It literally reminds me of watching Terrence Davis, a taller version of him. There's so many mental like mishaps that go on in that guy's mind. The one that sticks out to me is the Norman Powell foul with like a second or two on the shot clock in the corner where it's like, well, we get it. You're trying to close out. Maybe the screen caught you really good. Like the Raptors have ran that play a lot, by the way, where they run 2 or 3 hard screens out there for Powell on 5 seconds or less of the shot clock, and Powell runs to the corner and he shoots an off-bounce 3, and he's made some of them this season. But it's just interesting to me, like watching that guy play on both sides of the court. It's like watching 2 different things. Michael Porter Jr. is extremely talented. Like we all know that. Like he's the type of guy, he has the potential to score 30 plus in any game. Like that's how talented he is offensively. Is he going to do it consistently? Probably not. But defensively, I mean, he was just an absolute mess. And other than maybe those three, like their scoring output, you didn't really get much. Like Will Barton literally gave you 0 points. He was 0 for 8. Paul Millsap only 11 points, and then the bench did nothing. And then on the Raptor side, I was so proud of Pascal, how he played today. Let's talk about him, Oren. Because Pascal played his absolute ASS off. Where
I'll bring up a clip, but keep talking.
Yeah, he looked super motivated. Like I don't know if it was the Nick Nurse thing that went on, the report that came out that said him and Nick Nurse are, they went at it. I don't know what it was, but
let's talk about
Pascal's incredible. He was incredible tonight.
This actually wasn't the clip I was talking about, but this was my favorite bucket of the night, just to show it. The ball movement here, this pass from OG, man, was beautiful. The ball movement, the ball was just swinging today, man. The ball was just swinging.
5.
Yeah, like unlike we're really used to seeing this season from the Raptors. And I'll pull the Pascal one up right now. He was just very assertive tonight. I mean, to be honest, I talked about this yesterday. Talking about how he just didn't look engaged after last game 2 days ago, and that was my biggest problem. Like I'm usually his biggest defender, but at least you have to be like bringing the energy on both ends. And tonight he brought it. And Samson, our friend, tweeted this. It starts with him pushing the ball in transition, which he does really well here. He sees Compazzo in front of him. And I'll pause it, but he's just like, you're 6 foot and you have no size. And you don't see him do this enough this summer. He just sees the floor. It's not even that they have a numbers advantage. It's just that they have Compazzo, and that help is going to need to come if they want to stop him from getting to the rim. So the help comes, and then it's just swing, bam.
That was one play. Look at this one though, Oren. Where let me add it back to the stream. Like in that, like Pascal, what I realized early in this game, Oren, was that they didn't have a single player one-on-one who could hold him. Like there wasn't a single guy. They tried, I think, 4 guys in the first quarter. They tried Jokic, they tried Millsap, they tried Barton, they even tried Michael Porter Jr. at one point. And on this play, Barton's guarding him, and it's very interesting because they're in a 2-3 zone. Like you see Jokic at the bottom of that, right underneath the net almost. And Will Barton's kind of facing Pascal up, and Pascal knows the size advantage is there on Will Barton. I think Will Barton's like 6'4", maybe 6'3". And Pascal, we know his height. So there's the height advantage there. And I'm just going to play this really quickly. Like Kyle knows that Pascal can beat Will Barton here. 2 things happen on this play. Like Pascal does drive to the rim, and Jokic almost does nothing to help Will Barton as the help defender. But them being in a 2-3 zone, like if Barton's going to get blown by this easily, Jokic has to help him out here. Like Jokic, you got to do something there. Like you can't just have Pascal attack the rim like that. And again, Paul Millsap, Jokic is kind of cheating here where he's under the rim, and Paul Millsap's guarding 2 guys. He's guarding Powell, and I think that looks like Anunoby on the bottom half of the screen. So Jokic is clearly cheating. Paul Millsap has 2 right now. And this was just easy. Like this was so easy for him. 1-2 to the rim, no one stopping him. And that's what it looked like a lot of the night for Pascal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's been the weird thing about Pascal in this recent run. And maybe it's been the COVID stuff. I don't know. But he hasn't been able to take anyone off the dribble. He's been completely reliant on like his post-up game. And then they started using him a lot more as a screen and roller, because he hasn't had the ability to take guys off the dribble, which is kind of weird because we're used to seeing that from him when he has bigger guys from him. And some games like today, it doesn't matter who's on him. He just, as soon as he sees someone, make the slightest mistake, like Barton biting on the pump fake, he'll go and I feel like he sometimes underestimates how like long he is and how quick he is to get to the rim. He sometimes is there. He's sometimes there before he even realizes he's there. Like he can put on the ball on the floor earlier than I think sometimes he does. So yeah, like real quick before we should get to OG and Kyle, Michael Grange came out with his story on Sportsnet talking about basically the Shams report that Pascal got fined $50,000 for a confrontation with Nurse after Sunday's game.
Yeah.
And he basically said that Pascal said some stuff to Nurse that he shouldn't have said, and that the Raptors are dealing with it internally. And I think a lot of people have kind of freaked out about that on Twitter and said, like, their relationships, like, this is really bad, you know, that kind of stuff. And, like, this has been a nightmare season for everyone. So I get that sentiment. But one thing that's important to remember, I think, is that, like, these guys have a relationship that dates back, like, since Pascal got to the league. Like, Nurse taught Pascal how to shoot threes. Yeah. Like, they really go back. They've both helped each other a lot get to where they are at this stage in their career. So I don't think, like, it's not like a normal player-coach relationship where one flare-up is going to, like, ruin it. It's like they have a relationship, calm down, shit happens. But because of that existing relationship, I'm not that scared that, like, they're not going to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some wild takes on Twitter today of,
like, trade Pascal, like, shut up.
Yeah, I saw the trade Pascal. That yet. I saw some tweets where Nick Nurse isn't right for this team, and, like,
yeah, that too. I don't get that. He just won a championship and then had the second best record in the year after Kawhi left. Like, what are we doing here?
And then he was also the 4th seed just before the entire team got hit with COVID. So it's like, I mean, yes, he has all his guys back, and yes, the last 3 or 4 games they've still lost prior to this Denver game with their full strength team. But I mean, we all know where the Raptors were before they got hit by COVID. I mean, this team's obviously not as bad as their record. And they showed it tonight. I mean, facing one of the better teams in Denver. My thing is, Oren, honestly, if this is the Pascal we're going to get when Nick Nurse and him get in arguments or whatever it is, then put him and Nick Nurse in a steel cage match. Put them on WrestleMania, put them somewhere, because if Pascal's going to play like this after these type of arguments, I'm ready for it all. I'm ready for Pascal to take his and Nurse's relationship to a whole nother level. I want to see them on WrestleMania.
Yeah. What about, I think we should get to Kyle Lowry soon, but real quick first, what about OG Anunoby? I'll pull up a clip, but how did you feel about his play tonight? The one thing that stood out to me is his stroke looks clean.
Yeah. There was a specific play. I think it might be the one you're going to pull up where he catches it on the elbow, and OG has always kind of been a pretty good shooter his whole career. He's gotten better and better, but his, like, shooting stroke was so much faster tonight. I was absolutely shocked. Like, he caught one ball on the elbow with the defender just underneath someone else, and it was like immediate. He said, I'm going to shoot this, and there's no way you're going to block it. Even if it's contested, it's going in, and it went in. And I was just absolutely shocked. Like, OG really never had that type of confidence in his shot. It was always, when OG's open, shoot the ball. You know, everyone's okay with OG when he's wide open shooting the ball. It usually ends up in a basket. But I mean, I never saw this confidence from OG. I've never seen it before in terms of his shooting. He had like a couple of fadeaways where Campazzo was guarding him. It looked good. Like OG looked good. Like that, I love, and that was Paul Millsap guarding him there. That wasn't even Campazzo.
I think it was Jokic. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That one was Millsap. Yeah, that one was Millsap. But he did take Jokic to the rim a couple times in this game. But this was nice. Like, seeing it, like, that's a nice move. Like, it looks like a regular basketball move, but the space he created, Millsap almost was underneath the rim.
Yeah, with the pump fake.
Like, he just gave up.
Yeah, and then I also know the other one you're talking about where, I mean, because people were talking about it on Twitter because, you know, you're not used to seeing OG hit movement threes, and that was one where he screened and then kind of popped out for a three and kind of hit the three while he was still kind of fading away a little bit, so his feet weren't quite set. And the reason I think that's such a big deal is because you can run actions for him. You know, those are the actions that Norm Powell gets run for him all the time. So if Norm Powell is traded at the deadline, which I think a lot of people think is the case, you can start to funnel OG into actions where he's coming off screens and he's being the catch and shoot guy off motion. And that's why that's like kind of significant that he just randomly will hit those and like it looks really clean and he never does it, but it's like, okay, I guess OG, there's not yet been a thing that you can't do that we've asked you to do. So like, we'll take it, man.
This one right here, I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yeah. And like, that's pretty good. Like in terms of a contest, like that's pretty damn good from Millsap. Like that's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we should move on to the man of the night.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it seems like Kyle is as good as gone.
Yeah.
But based on all the rumors and everything, I think there's at least an outside chance that he's still on the team after tomorrow. I mean, especially based on the fact that only really Philly and Miami have any chance of doing it. If it's only two teams, maybe the price just never gets to a place Toronto's comfortable with. And also, given that apparently Mark Stein reported that Norm Powell has the list of teams interested in Norm Powell is in the teens. I mean, if his crazy. Price is, that's crazy. But if his price is that high, maybe they justify, oh, okay, we just trade one of these two and kind of try to re-sign Kyle. But really vintage Kyle night because he wasn't really scoring the ball. He was just the facilitator. He had 5 rebounds, I think 4 or 5 in the first half, 9 assists on the night. Like we said, plus 42, which is a record, a all-time high for Kyle Lowry, even though like plus minus has always kind of been his thing. The reason everyone, the analytics darlings love him is because he's always driven up plus minus, no matter who he's on the floor with, but plus 42, pretty ridiculous. If this is the last Kyle Lowry game, I guess how will you remember him?
Oh man, if you've been following me on Twitter, like however many years, everyone knows like Kyle Lowry. He's my guy. He's my favorite player. Even before he won the championship, he was my favorite player in the league. He remains my favorite player in the league. My favorite player of all time. What I see in Kyle Lowry is a guy who was never the most athletic guy. He was never really the fastest. Kyle Lowry's a pretty fast guy. Never really the fastest. Wasn't necessarily, I want to say, you could probably consider him one of the best shooters in the league now, but he wasn't always the best shooter. But Kyle always did all the right things on the court. And there's a reason why when you watch him and you really understand basketball, I think you see how much he can really impact a game, even when he's not scoring. Kyle, to me, is a guy that every basketball player, because let's be honest, like for all the young people that are going pro or that have desires to go pro, like you're not always going to be the fastest or the strongest or the most athletic guy. I think Kyle Lowry is a guy that a lot of young basketball players can look up to. His drive to just be the absolute best player he could possibly be is incredible. To watch it, it's incredible. And I think Raptors fans are in a very interesting position because, Oren, as much as they don't want to hear this, there was a time in Raptorland, Oren, where a lot of people were not fond of Kyle Lowry. People were calling for him to be traded. And I always felt like he never really deserved that type of sentiment. I mean, it was okay to criticize him and say Kyle should be playing better in the playoffs in certain years or certain seasons. I mean, that's totally fine. But I think everyone who's watched Kyle, everyone who's a Raptors fan can agree that what they've seen from him, the growth they've seen from him since he came here and was traded for Gary Forbes and a first-round pick from Houston, it's been incredible. And it only kind of makes sense for him to win a championship and be crowned, the greatest Raptor of all time. I think he was the greatest Raptor of all time before the championship, but I mean, it's set in stone now. At this point, we're just waiting for a Kyle Lowry statue.
No, for sure. I think I agree. I think the first point you brought up is a really good one. I think Kyle helped me understand the game more than any other player because, like you said, the more you watch, the more you understand basketball, the little things, the little screens. I always like that play. I don't know if you want to pull it up. I always love that play where Kawhi dunked on Giannis in Game 6 or Game 5 of that series, where Kyle kind of stuck his ass out and hit Giannis, who's trying to go up for the block, and it's just like one of those little plays that you don't really notice unless it's like a replay. But yeah, like you said, the more you understand ball and you can kind of watch for the little things rather than just the big things and just who puts the ball in the hoop, the more Kyle Lowry sticks out, the more you understand why he's so good and why he drives winning so much. The other thing I think I'll remember him for is like the off-court stuff, because like everyone knows, I mean, he's super underrated as a leader. First of all, people talk about Dame, people talk about Curry, LeBron, obviously. I think Kyle is in that group in terms of like one of the best leaders in the league over the past 10 years. Yeah. And like that shit sticks out to me, like how well he can flip a switch. And I've been like spent today writing something about this. I don't know when it'll be out or where, but just like about how like you have to be really good at like not disassociating, but like compartmentalizing as an athlete. And Kyle's so good at flipping the switch, like, okay, it's game time, I'm going to be the hardest competitor, I'm going to be on the floor, like diving for loose balls and all of that stuff. And then as soon as the game's over, like he's so focused on the game, as soon as the game over, he's like in a new mode where he's like, okay, let me get the game ball for this coach who just got his first win, Sergio, or let me get the game ball for the rookie who just got his first NBA points, or like, let me pull Masai out of like getting like physically harassed by this police officer right after we won the finals, because I'm not even thinking about myself right now. I'm thinking about Masai Ujiri, like, come over here, you know? That stuff always stood out to me, just like how selfless he is.
Yeah. Kyle, it was almost like when we watched that team win the championship in 2019, as much as Kawhi did, and of course, you're not getting that championship without Kawhi, but you're also not getting it without Lowry, and you're not getting it without Siakam. But Kyle reminds me so much of Chauncey Billups, where not necessarily in play style, but just their ability to lead. And Chauncey Billups was always one of those guys, I think, that never really he was never really the best at any specific attribute. Like Chauncey Billups, the first thing you think of is probably his three-point shooting and his defense. But also his intangibles are insane. It reminds me of a lot of Kyle. His leadership, for a guy like Chauncey to lead a 2004 Detroit Pistons team that had personalities like Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace, on that team, Rip Hamilton, very big personalities, for him to lead them to the World Championship. That's insane. That's insane. And for Kyle, I mean, he never really dealt with that in this 2019 year. I don't think there was really anyone that really stood out that had a massive, massive personality that needed to be tamed or anything like that. But for him to lead that team and just to see him, on the parade day on the top of oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle,
parade day. I feel like parade day is even more sentimental now that COVID is a thing, because it's like, and we got to hang out with people. Like it was perfect that the Raptors won before COVID, because it would have been such a like L if we won and we couldn't celebrate it the way like the city wanted to. So I had this written down. I feel like we could transition to this, because it's true. We are talking like he got traded.
We are. And to be honest, I think my expectation, Oren, honestly, is that he doesn't get traded. I mean, but if he does, I won't be surprised. But it's tough. Like, it's one of those things where we don't know, so we kind of have to prepare ourselves.
For sure. That's what today's been about.
Yeah, for the longest tenured Raptor, the greatest Raptor of all time, clear cut. Like, there's absolutely no discussion. The guy who brought us our first ever championship. I mean, we have to kind of, I don't want it to sound like a eulogy or anything like that, but we have to show him his props, Oren.
But also there's been more reports coming out saying that the Raptors have put him on the table in trade talks recently. So I guess like I would say my expectation, I would lean towards that they do trade him, but I still think it's pretty like, 60-40 kind of thing. I think there's a good chance they don't. But what does your ideal trade deadline look like for the Raptors? Not like what you think is going to happen, but what do you wish would happen tomorrow? with Norm and Lowry and Boucher and whoever else.
Okay, so I saw, a lot of people bringing up a Norm and Boucher package for Miles Turner on the Indiana Pacers. And the reason people were bringing that up is because Indiana was reported as one of the most interested teams, allegedly, in Norman Powell. Remember, Indiana has, the former Raptors assistant coach Nate Bjorkgren there. So he has one fan in Norman Powell, a guy that, who wouldn't be interested in Norman Powell? Like you said earlier, another report said there's teams in the teens that were interested in him. So I love that deal, the Boucher, the proposed Boucher and Norm for Miles Turner. But at the same time, those are two very, very big contributors to this Raptors team. But I also, the Miles Turner fit beside Siakam.
Yeah.
Woo,
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Also because Miles Turner's contract for 2 or 3 more years is super reasonable. So you could even add...
Yeah,
you can add another guy. Yeah, a shot blocking rim protector is exactly the kind of guy Toronto wants. My thing with Miles Turner is not that I don't think that's possible. I actually think it's possible, and I would love that for the Raptors. If I was the New Orleans Pelicans, I would outbid every team for Miles Turner. I tweeted this because they have a stockpile of picks, right? And they have Zion Williamson, who's great right now, and Miles Turner is young, and it's okay, a stretch 5 beside Zion who can protect the rim. That's what I would be trying to do. I really don't understand why they're playing slow and playing so big with no spacing. Yeah. But if they're stupid, which I think they are, they're trying to get off Lonzo too. Yeah, I'm kind of actually exactly with you. My ideal trade deadline is that they keep Kyle.
Yeah.
In the offseason, sign him to a reasonable 2 for 40 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then I do, like I've said, hope they trade Norm. And if we could get a center and a pick back, or a prospect and a pick back, that would kind of be my ideal day tomorrow, especially if the Norm price is going that high. Maybe you can get enough assets and keep Kyle and still have that asset stockpile to somehow get a center. But yeah, I
don't think the Raptors can really lose here. Everyone has their preference of what is the best option, what's the best path for Toronto to take. But if they keep Norm, let's say, and keep Kyle, and a report comes out that, hey, the Raptors promised extensions to both guys, I'm okay with that too. As crazy as that sounds, I'm okay with that too. Would it be my preference? Probably not. My preference at this point, like I said, is to package Norm, use up all that leverage you have from all these different teams that are interested in him, and try and get a very good player you can place beside Pascal. I've seen the Jared Allen stuff, but apparently Cleveland wants to re-sign him to an extension. I saw a report that said $100 million or near that figure, which is crazy. But yeah, my preference is keep Kyle, move Norm in a package, and somehow try and get Miles Turner. Miles Turner was reported last off, and the reason we keep bringing up Miles Turner is because it's not just random. Miles Turner was heavily reported to be a part of a proposed deal that would have sent Miles to Boston. But instead, we all know what happened. Gordon Hayward ended up going to Charlotte, and Boston ended up getting this massive trade exemption worth $26 million, something crazy. And Miles Turner ended up staying in Indiana. So we do have a quote there. Who's that quote about, Oren?
It's about Kyle.
Yeah. He plays harder than anybody I've ever seen. I can't give a higher compliment than that. I don't want Lowry gone. I just don't. You could say,
that's the part.
I don't, and I don't for this team. I can see Lowry leaving and this entire team just falling apart just because that is their guy. That's their leader.
Yeah, me too, kind of. That's why I guess I've been kind of fearful, because I don't want to take a big step back. And I think any package talking that we've heard about Lowry is a big step back, even though they make sense. Some of those guys are nice. It's a big step back, but I trust the front office a ton. And like you said, I agree. There's really no bad thing going to happen from this, because the front office isn't going to trade any of those guys just to trade them. Yeah. They're only going to do it if they get a good enough offer. And, if if that happens and we get like a Tyler Hero and a couple picks and a Precious Achua, that's exciting. Those are exciting young players that we can start.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I'm surprised people are so low on Tyler Hero, to be honest. I like him, but in general, I think the part that people kind of have wrong is that, like, oh no, we're going to go into a long rebuild now. This means we're going to be bad for a few years. And like, I don't think you should look at it that way, because the core is, as we saw tonight, I think no better game than this to demonstrate the core three is like, they're so good now. So even if this year is a step back, they're going to be good again in the near future. Like, this isn't about stockpiling first round picks for just to use them in 2027. It's to stockpile assets so you can eventually flip them in the near future and be really competitive again. And I think they will be competitive again as soon as, if not next season, as soon as the one after that, for sure. These guys are signed for 3 more years, and the front office knows that. They know that they have the competitive window is 3 more years. So yeah, I mean, it's different for sure, this trade deadline. We're not used to this kind of thing as Raptors fans. If anything, we're like, maybe we'll trade for a 7th man, and it's like, wow. So this is going to be different, but it's fine, man. It's going to be exciting either way.
Yeah, it is going to be exciting. And tomorrow, I don't know if people are remember, but tomorrow we are hosting a pretty special show, the trade deadline show. We're going to be live at 2 p.m., I believe, Eastern time, so an hour before the actual trade deadline closes, where most deals happen in the NBA. We're going to be commenting on all types of deals, not just Raptors-related stuff, but the focus obviously will be on Toronto. It's going to be cool. Like, I'm anxious to see what happens tomorrow, but I think, honestly, I have such big faith, I should say, in Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster and the entire front office to really do what's best for Toronto, whatever route they take. We've opened up every possibility of trades. Lowry staying, Norm going, Norm staying, Lowry going. They're both going. They both stay. We've opened up every realm of possibility. But I think at this point, we can all say that no matter what happens, the faith will still be there, I think, in the Toronto Raptors front office.
For sure. I mean, especially as long as Masai Ujiri.
As long as Masai Ujiri's employed.
Sorry, yeah. I just saw this tweet from Jordan Schultz, says league sources say that the Raptors, with highly coveted trade targets Norm Powell and Kyle Lowry, are holding up much of the league because of huge asking prices for Lowry and Powell. So that's kind of just what we said. They're not going to make trades unless they have to make trades.
Love it.
Yeah, the whole league is kind of waiting for things to fall and someone to set the market. And I think Masai having all the chips is kind of exactly what you want, because he's kind of a genius negotiator. If anyone remembers back to the Carmelo Anthony trade, where he kind of pitted the two New York teams against each other. It was the two New York teams, right? Yeah, against each other, and then got a great haul for Melo. Same kind of deal here, very similar situation. So my ideal trade deadline is actually if Masai also re-signs a 10-year deal and gets the key to the city. Someone was like, if Masai trades Powell for Miles Turner, give this guy the whole province.
Yeah, literally, just give him everything at that point. If you can, but the thing is with Powell, like, he's done such a good job recently, where it's like, as good as Miles Turner is, like, don't be shocked if, like, you see Powell get moved in a package and, like, we're getting back like a borderline star like Miles Turner back, because the way Norm's been playing the last month, 2 months, almost 3 at this point, he has been an elite 3-level scorer, and a guy the entire NBA has taken notice of. I've noticed it myself on NBA Twitter. I've seen Dallas Mavericks bloggers talking about him. I've seen Pacers fans talking about him. I've seen Knicks fans talking about him. So, I mean, the entire NBA is taking notice of what Norm Powell is doing across the league. So, to see him get traded for something, huge, I won't be shocked at this point. He brought up his trade value at the absolute perfect time. Oren, I wanted to bring up one more thing, game related. And that was what I thought was the play of the game. Just a really super cool play from DeAndre Bembry. I'm going to bring it up right now. This was really nice. Like, this play right here was gorgeous. The finish, let me just back it up for you guys, because all 5 Raptors are kind of running in unison. And that finish right there, that little jelly at the end, no, we got to see that one more time. That is crazy. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think Bembry's probably been the 7th best Raptor for most of the season. And we talked about Malachi Flynn. I mean, like we've said, if we're going developmental mode, I want Malachi to get minutes this season. But if we're just talking about, who's the better player, and also Bembry's also young. I think he's 26. I think he could also be re-signed to this team. I think he makes a lot of sense. Long term, he's nice, man. I love watching him. He has some of that on-court finesse that this team lacks a little bit of. Those dunks that not many guys are capable of on the team anymore.
Yeah.
If we're just talking vibes, let's go get DeMar and run it back.
Let's get DeMar back on the team. Oh my goodness, I would go absolutely crazy if DeMar found his way back on the Raptors.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
That would be so much fun. This play right here, Oren, is, we were talking about Lowry earlier. This is almost, people love, the Fred and Lowry comparison. This is, I think, what makes Fred and Lowry a bit different. So Bembry gives it to Fred here on the elbow, and people don't realize Chris Boucher at the bottom of the screen, almost underneath the net, is being guarded by Facundo Campazzo. Yeah. That guy has to be, I think, at most 6'2", and we all know Boucher 6'9", 6'10". I don't know what Fred was kind of thinking here, and I don't want to overdiagnose here, but Kyle Lowry immediately throws this up to Boucher, and I think that's the difference you see in playmaking from both players. But instead, look at Boucher's begging for the ball at that point. Fred attacks the rim and misses, but Fred had a great game himself, but I think that is one of the main differences you see in Kyle. Kyle's so good at reading the floor. He's not letting that Boucher height advantage just go to waste there. You could probably argue Boucher should have got the offensive rebound or whatever there, but at that point, the entire Denver team was in there. That has to go to Boucher. Is that overanalyzing, Oren? I think that has to go to Boucher.
Run it back one more time.
Look at that height difference. You just throw it up at that point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You have to give that to Boucher. You just have to.
Yeah, I mean, Fred misses those looks sometimes. Yeah. I think it's fair to say, but this is really his first year as a point guard. He's more used to running off screens and shooting. So just the fact that this is his first year with the ball really in his hands, and the leap he's made as a facilitator, you got to be really happy with that, given his age, given the experience level, given his history of being better in at least one area every single season. I think that stuff's going to come with time. I'm not worried about that anymore. To be honest, I'm not worried about the facilitating. If there's one part of his game that worries me is the finishing at the rim. But other than that, I think Fred's going to be a really good player for a really long time.
He is. I 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's it for me.
Yeah, the Raptors won. I'm super excited. I'm going to bed with a smile on my face. They beat Denver again, one of the best teams in the Western Conference. Before you guys leave us tonight, though, we need you guys all to comment, and subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. Turn on the post notifications. Do all of that, guys. We want to thank our sponsor, Arif Qureshi from Remax, for supporting the show. And yeah, that was it. This was the wrap up. The Raptors broke their 9-game
losing
streak versus the Denver Nuggets and blew them out 135-111. I'm your co-host Sahal Abdi, again here with Oren Weisfeld. We'll see you guys Friday night.
No, tomorrow.
Well,
tomorrow
we'll see you guys
at 2 p.m.
I apologize. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll see you Friday night versus the Phoenix Suns. Guys, tune in tomorrow. We will be live diagnosing that last and final hour of the trade deadline. Oh, you almost caught me there. I almost got myself. We'll see you guys, though, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Stay with us. We never know what might happen. It might be the biggest day in Raptors history. We'll see.
Bye.